So if you've been subscribed to my channel, you know that I am in absolute love with this new 2023 Nissan Z. I love the direction that Nissan is going with the modern retro design, bringing it back to the old like 240, 280-esque body. I really like the power that the new twin turbo V6 actually pushes out. And when I was able to actually do an in-depth walk around video with a Z in person at the New York Auto Show this past April, I was absolutely ecstatic throughout the entire video. And again, you guys know, if you've really been subscribed to me for quite some time, that I've been doing videos on Zs ever since like it was just a rumor, or it was like a prototype, like not even in a pre-production phase or anything like that. However, in today's video, we're going to be looking at specifically 5 things that I just think Nissan really should have did better with this Z, and 5 things that could potentially make it overrated in some people's eyes. Now, before we get into that, definitely be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe if you're new here down below. If you've been subscribed to my channel, make sure to click that little bell icon down there. That actually does turn on post notifications and helps notify you every time that I do post a new video. I'm a smaller channel and I post new content daily, so it really would mean the world if you were to just take that little second and do those things for me. But anyways, without wasting any more of your guys' time, we're going into the first thing that I just think that kind of makes the Z a little bit underwhelming and a little bit overrated in some people's eyes, has got to be the suspension and the handling. Now, mind you, this is in no particular order, and I do have like my notes written down in front of me, so if I'm looking up and down, don't mind me. But talking about the suspension and the handling of this overall Z, it kind of lacks a lot of the technology that we see with other modern day sports cars. Now, in most modern day sports cars, you would think that there would be, you know, 5 to even 8 different or even 10 different driving modes that you'd be able to activate with just a push of a button. But unfortunately, with the new Nissan Z, it actually does not have active dampers, and instead Nissan chose to go with a monotube damper system. So basically the Z, when it comes to driving modes, there's only going to be 2 driving modes available in the Z Sport as well as the Z Performance, and that is Sport and Comfort modes. That's it. That's all you get. There's no wet mode, there's no eco mode, there's no like all these other different modes that you see in modern day sports cars. Now, I really like these different modes because as someone who's reviewed over 100 different vehicles on this channel alone, it really does matter. Like, it's not something that's, you know, overhyped or anything. Like, these different driving modes, yes, it's not going to completely change the vehicle that you're in. However, something in, like, for example, if you take a Hellcat and you put a Hellcat in eco mode and it cuts power to, like, I think right around 500 or like high 400s, it's a completely different car than a Hellcat on track mode. Like, it's just different. And I love the fact that manufacturers are doing this with their modern sports cars and their new kind of performance vehicles that they're coming out with. However, Nissan kind of missed the mark because they didn't take advantage of this, and they didn't include any sort of active damper system in the suspension, and it certainly does hinder this new Z's performance when talking about handling. Now, another thing specifically that a lot of people have been saying, now unfortunately I haven't really been able to actually do a physical review on a Z yet. I haven't got the opportunity to get my hands on one and drive it for you guys, but I keep hearing over and over and over again, and it almost feels like a broken record at this point, and a lot of people are complaining about how oversteery this new Z is. Now, I'm sure that the kind of outdated suspension system that we just talked about certainly does play a kind of pivotal part in that. And again, the fact that it's a rear-wheel drive car, you're going to get a little bit of that oversteer. But when you kind of couple that with a little bit of an outdated suspension system, that's definitely not going to do well for its, you know, overall suspension and handling. Now, moving on to reason number 2, looking at its main competitor now, the new GR Supra. The Supra honestly pretty much beats it out in like every major performance category, which is really not good. So just looking at my notes here, if we're looking at 0 to 60 times, the Supra, the Auto Supra, mind you, is 3.7 seconds to go from 0 to 60. Now, the Auto Z is 4.3 seconds, which is 0.6 seconds faster, and then the manual Z is 4.5. Now, keep in mind, like, some people like to kind of hate on comparing 0 to 60 times because they're like, oh, you know, more goes into that, blah, blah, blah. The Supra also beats the Z out in braking too. So when we're looking at braking, the Supra's 70 mile per hour to 0 mile per hour distance is 147 feet compared to the Z's 166 feet. Now, that may not seem like a whole lot, but when you're comparing track times, literally anything like split seconds matter, and that little like 20 something feet distance is going to certainly negatively affect the Z when compared to a Supra on the same track. Now, in addition to that, the Supra is also more even. We're going to be talking about weight a little bit more in a bit, but just looking at the Supra's weight distribution, it has a 51.7% of its weight in the front with 48.3% of its weight in the rear, which is a lot better than the Z's. And that is the third reason that I think that the Z is a little bit overrated, and it's got to be the amount of weight that it's gained from its last generation, as well as how unbalanced it is. Now, for the Z, it's got 56.4% of its weight up front with 43.6% of its weight in the rear. So it's very nose heavy, and that definitely does not help with the oversteer issue. That probably causes more oversteer, if anything. And looking at just the base Z, the Z Sport, if you will, it weighs in at 3,486 pounds. Now, the Auto Z weighs in at just over 3,600 pounds, right at 3,602 pounds. Now, looking at the 370 bases from the previous generation, those were 3,382. And looking at the 370 autos, they were 3,362. So there's definitely a significant jump with this next generation of the Z when it comes to curb weights. Now, going back to its main competitor, the GR Supra. The GR Supra, the auto version, mind you, it weighs at an even 3,400 pounds. This isn't even taking into account the curb weight of the new manual Supra that is coming out, which is obviously going to be lighter. So that's another thing that's just like, you know, I don't understand. I definitely feel like Nissan could have surely made this car, you know, lighter and just cut a little corners here and there, shed it off a few pounds, but they just kind of didn't, and they just kept a lot of their focus with the design of the car, which, mind you, I really love the modern retro design, but you can't just focus on one thing when making a new car like this. Now, speaking about the design of the car, moving on to the fourth reason why I think that some people think that this new Z is overrated, and that has to be the outdated interior and the overall just amount of reused pieces from the previous generation of the Z. Now, I get the privilege to again sit in a Z in person at the New York Auto Show, and I really like the interior. I'm not really much of a creature comfort person. I don't really care about that when it comes to a car. I'm more worried about its performance and how it handles and how it actually drives. And again, if you've been subscribed to me, you would know this, because this is a common theme that I typically talk about when reviewing you know, the different vehicles that I review on the channel. I kind of like the interior. However, there was plenty of gauges that were just reused from the old 350 and 370Zs. And considering that the 350 and 370Zs have been around since like the early 2000s now, I'm dumbfounded as to why Nissan didn't at least just update a little bit of like just some of the parts. Again, me personally, I don't really care about it, but I know damn well that the general public is going to bash Nissan for it, and I really hope that, you know, it just doesn't like drive the overall general popularity of this car down over something that stupid. Now, moving on to the fifth and probably final reason why I think that this new Nissan Z is just a tad overrated, and that has to be the stock exhaust. I don't know what it is, and I gotta be honest with you guys, I saw a couple of clips of it, and I wanted to edit a couple clips, you know, into this video or whatever of the stock exhaust, but it's just fugly. Like, it just sounds so bad. And for a 3-liter twin turbocharged V6 that's making 400 horsepower out of the gate, it just sounds terrible. Like, I don't know what it is about it. It doesn't have that like VQ-esque trumpety sound that we get from the older Zs and like the older Infinities, but it really does not sound good. If you don't know what a stock Nissan Z or 2023 Nissan Z factory exhaust sounds like. Just search it up. There's plenty of videos and like little short videos on YouTube. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just me. It's kind of opinionated, to be honest with you, but I just think it just sounds absolutely hideous. And if I were to get a new Z, that would probably be the very first thing that I would modify, because I do know that TJ Hunt with his new Z, he put on a different exhaust and it sounds pretty damn awesome. Like, I'm sure that this engine, when actually opened up a little bit, can have a nice tone to it, and especially if you have a true cat back or even headers to like a high flow cat to a cat back system, it can sound really, really good and not too loud and not too obnoxious, but have a nice tone. But for some reason, like, I don't know what the engineers were doing when they designed this factory exhaust. It just doesn't sound good. Now, before we end today's video, a couple other like nitpicky things that I really don't like that Nissan did with this new Z is that, for one, the Sport or the base model of the Z actually doesn't come with a limited slip differential, and considering that the Sports start at 40 grand and the Performances start at 50 grand, it's kind of annoying that you have to spend an extra $10,000 if you just want a limited slip differential. Now, yes, the Performance does come with raised wheels, and I think it comes with a few other things, better suspension, but to be honest, in my own opinion, if I were to just have something that was like stripped down and I just want that LSD to kind of hoon around, Nissan really doesn't give you that option for it. Now, sticking with the price, I just think it's just flat out too much. Now, this is kind of a complaint of just the overall car market now. I can't really blame Nissan specifically for this, but when you're basically selling a Z for 50 grand, you realize like you can get a decent used R35 GTR in the like high 50s to low 60s, even in today's car market. So what would you guys rather have? A used GTR with not too much miles on it for a little bit more, or a new Z? I don't know about you. I'd probably go with the GTR. That's just me. So I just don't really like how high they're priced, but that's a problem that a bunch of pretty much all manufacturers are having to deal with right now, with different supply chain shortages and chip shortages and everything else that's going on. Also, shout out to the Nissan dealership in like Washington State that is trying to sell a Nissan Z proto spec for 130 grand. I did a video on that, but yeah, I mean, Nissan dealerships, please be better than this. Don't try to just mark up this new Z to high hell because you know that, people are going to want to buy it. But yeah, I just think it will cost way too much. Now, probably the last little like nitpicky thing is the lack of customization options for this new Z. I did a video where I actually built and priced out a new Z and basically did it how like I would get a new Z if I were to actually buy one tomorrow. But besides like the 8 exterior paint colors and like the options of like the 3 interior colors, which mind you can't even get all 3 interior colors if you match it with like a certain exterior color, there's really not much else to customize on their website. There's no spoilers, there's no different lips, there's nothing. And some other manufacturers offer a crap ton of customization. I know, for example, going back to the Supra, that Toyota offers a decent amount more customization when it comes to the Supra. Now, yes, you can't spec it out like a Lambo or anything, I'm not saying that, but still, Toyota does offer more options, and I would love to see Nissan hopefully put more options on their website in the future. But anyways, that's my complaints about the new 2023 Nissan Z. Again, I still love the car. If I could probably afford one right now, I would honestly consider getting one, even though I'm not really a person that typically gets new cars. I normally shop around on the used car market. But anyways, again, let me know what you guys think about this new Z down in the comments below. Also, let me know of any other complaints that you guys might have about the new Z and what Nissan has done with the new Z. But while you're down there, again, definitely be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. If you're already subscribed, please click that little bell icon. It really does help me out a ton as a smaller YouTuber. But thank you guys so much for sticking to the end of today's video, and thank you for your time. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one. If you enjoyed today's video, click on either of these links right here to watch a similar video from this channel, or click on the little circle link right there to actually subscribe to the channel. It's absolutely free. I do appreciate all the support, but thank you for sticking to the end of this video, and I hope you have a fantastic day.